Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever just looked around you? At the person selling vegetables on the street, the massive factories chugging away, the busy offices? It's all part of India's huge buzzing economy. But how does it all actually work? Well, today we're going to break it down. Think about it for a second. A farmer working in a field, a person on an assembly line in a factory, and a doctor in a city clinic. They seem to be living in completely different worlds, don't they? But the truth is, they're all crucial players on the very same team, working together to power our entire country. You know, the easiest way to get a handle on this whole thing is to think of our economy as three big teams. We call them the primary, secondary, and tertiary sectors. So let's meet the players on each team, shall we? First up, we have the primary sector. I like to call this one Team Nature. Simple, right? This team's job is to get things straight from the earth. We're talking about farming, fishing, forestry, mining. Basically, they provide all the raw materials. They're the foundation for pretty much everything else. Okay, next we've got the secondary sector, or as I call it, Team Factory. Now this team takes all the raw stuff from Team Nature and, well, manufactures it into something new. You see the connection? They take the cotton from the farm and weave it into cloth. They take sugarcane and process it into sugar. This is the industrial engine of our economy. And finally, there's the tertiary sector, which we can call Team Service. Now, this team is a bit different. They don't actually make a physical product. Instead, they provide the essential services that help the other two teams do their jobs, and, services that make all of our lives run smoothly. We're talking transport, banking, communications, and of course, our teachers and doctors. So, here's the most important part. None of these teams can win the game alone. They absolutely depend on each other. A farmer from Team Nature needs a tractor that was built by Team Factory. And guess what? Both of them need a truck driver from Team Service to get their goods to the market. It's this perfect interconnected cycle. So now that we know the teams, let's look at how the game itself has changed in India over the past 40 years or so. And believe me, it's a fascinating story, best told through a tale of two charts. All right, just look at this first chart. It tells a really dramatic story about our economy's production, or what we call its GVA. That's just a simple way of saying the total value each team adds. Back in the day, agriculture, Team Nature, was our biggest player. But look at the picture now. Team Service has just skyrocketed past everyone else, becoming the biggest producer by far. That's a huge shift in what our country is actually producing. So if Team Service is making the most stuff, then it's obvious that's where most of the jobs must be, right? Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? But this is where the story takes a really interesting twist. Get this. In spite of that massive change in production, the job numbers tell a totally different story. The primary sector, mostly farming, is still where most of our people work. So our economy's output has become really modern, but our job market, well, it hasn't quite kept up. And this creates a really big puzzle for us to solve. And the main clue to solving that puzzle lies in a concept that economists call underemployment. It's a kind of hidden job problem that affects millions and millions of people in our country, especially in rural areas. So what is underemployment? Basically, it's when people look like they're working, they have a job, but they aren't actually working to their full capacity. Imagine you have a task that really only needs 3 people to do it, but you have 5 people doing it instead. Everyone looks busy, but the work is just being split up, so nobody is being as productive as they could be. Let me tell you a quick story to make this super clear. Let's meet Lakshmi. She has a small farm where her whole family of 5 people works. The thing is, the work on that farm could easily be done by just 3 people. That means 2 members of her family are technically underemployed. Now here's the magic. If those 2 people got jobs at a factory in a nearby town, the farm would still produce the exact same amount of crops, but the family's total income would go up. That's the whole problem in a nutshell. So Lakshmi's story really shows us that just creating any job isn't enough. The type of job, the quality, and the security of that job matters a whole lot. And this brings us to another way we can slice our economy, by looking at the difference between organized and unorganized work. To understand this, let's meet 2 people, Kanta and Kamal. Kanta works in the organized sector. That means she has a proper job with regular hours, a fixed salary, job security, paid leave, medical benefits, the whole package. Her job follows all the government rules. Now, our neighbor Kamal works in the unorganized sector. He's a daily wage laborer. His work is totally irregular, his pay is low, and he has absolutely no job security or benefits. He can be asked to leave any day, any time.
And here is the really staggering fact. Over 80% of rural households in India are small and marginal farmers, just like Kamal's family. They are a huge, massive part of our economy, but they are also the most vulnerable, with no real safety net to fall back on.
Okay, we've got one final way to look at our economy, one last lens, and it all boils down to one simple question. Who's the boss? This leads us to the difference between the public and private sectors.
It's pretty straightforward. In the public sector, the government is the owner. Think about Indian Railways or the post office. Their main goal isn't just to make money, it's to provide essential services for the public's welfare. On the other hand, in the private sector, businesses are owned by individuals or companies, like Tata or Reliance. Here, the number one motive is to earn profits. So you might be wondering, why do we need the public sector so much? Well, because it's the government that takes on the really huge, expensive projects that are vital for the whole country, but might not be immediately profitable for a private company. We're talking about building roads, dams, railways, and making sure everyone has access to basic health and education, not just those who can afford to pay a high price for it.
So let's just quickly wrap it all up. To really get a good picture of how the Indian economy works, we can't just look at it from one angle. We need to use these three different lenses. First, by the type of activity, primary, secondary, tertiary. Second, by work conditions, organized versus unorganized. And third, by ownership, public versus private.
So now you have the basic blueprint of our economy. But understanding the pieces is really just the beginning. The real challenge, the giant puzzle that's going to define India's future, is this. How do we create enough good, secure jobs to move millions of people out of insecure, underemployed work? The answer to that question is something that will shape all of our lives. Thanks so much for joining me to explore this today.